third to First In podcast. We are live. Well,
Hey, Keith, how are you, man?
doing well. Again, we got Don Brucker. Hello, DB. How are you?
Boys, how are you? Doing good.
Doing well. Gino, anything new with you this week?
No, I just want to say one thing I do want to talk about, not talk about, but say is, we in the city of people, we had a high-rise fire over the weekend. And I can't say enough for our guys, just an all-out A-plus effort. And again, it was a trash chute fire. From what I'm understanding, I wasn't there, but these guys in this department, man, they're really impressing me, and it's like I'm in awe almost most of the time.
Yeah. So Pleasant Hills was doing a citizens fire academy on Sunday, and we're up the training shelter, and we're listening to that. And I was coming in. Sully was there, so Sully was all over it. I had it up on the radio. We're listening to all the details, but he had pictures already of it, and he was showing us pictures. It looked way more than just a trash chute fire.
Yeah.
You saw the
It
photos.
took them a while to figure out what was on because multiple people were calling in saying, "Oh, we have a fire on this floor. We have a fire on this floor. We have a fire on this floor," and then that's what they were seeing, from what I understand. Well, some of them were just a little bit, maybe a little panic, which is understandable. But
Yeah, the way we look at it and the way those residents look at it.
right,
Smoke, how do I get out? Can I get out?
right. They're opening windows on the 8th and 10th floor. And that's itself hurdle to get over to tell them get away from the window on the 8th floor.
Yeah.
So, but it worked out well, and
Yeah, it sounded good. I mean, they were making
Yeah.
grabs, and it sounded like it was a real smooth operation.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
How
how about you? What's going on with you, man?
I don't know. Last couple of days, I was in a boring con ed class for real estate. So every 2 years, we have to take con ed, and so I went this class. It was out South Point, the Hilton at South Point, and it was 2 long, excruciating days of catching up on stuff. And then, but over the past weekend, I went to the Fright Nights at Kennywood.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. I'm not real big on the haunted houses. I sort of think they're stupid most of the time. But we end up riding all the roller coasters, and the lines for the roller coasters were real small because everybody was going to the haunted houses out there. They have like 6 or 7 haunted houses. I went through one a couple weeks ago. Me and Jeremy went out, and we went through one. It was sort of stupid, so that's why I didn't go there.
Well, as you know, obviously, we did haunted houses for a few years back in the day in Pleasant Hills, and you get to appreciate a haunted house a lot more when you work at a haunted house and you see the guys that build them and what goes on inside those and stuff. So that's you get almost like a behind the scenes, because you're like, oh man, I can imagine how they put that together or did that or whatever. But yeah, that's neat.
Jeremy actually said, I wonder how their voices are after this week. That goes on for like a month and a half. And I said, I remember back when we did ours, oh my God, my voice was gone.
Oh yeah.
A week after that.
Cough drops and Southern Comfort.
There we go.
So I got a question for you guys. Rush going back on tour, the new drummer. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, it's who would?
She's 40 years old, around in her 40s, and she's from Germany. I don't know her name off the top of my head.
She can get it.
Yeah, but
she can get
she's
it.
pretty good.
Yeah, she can get it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Our friend Billy Yost sent me that link to that story, and I was reading about it. But
okay.
I think there's like maybe 15 or 20 dates that they're going on. They're not coming to Pittsburgh. They're coming to Cleveland now.
You gonna go?
I would actually consider it, but no, I'm not. If they were coming to Pittsburgh, I'd definitely probably go.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
I'm not a big Rush fan. Not gonna lie. I mean, really don't have any.
You're more Taylor Swift.
If it was,
I'm
if it was the
a
Who,
Who
I was
guy.
gonna say if it was the
I'm a
Who.
Who guy, yeah.
He's a Swiftie.
Yeah.
He's a
You know who drums for the Who?
I thought you were
I'm
gonna
not
ask
saying it.
the best drummer. I was gonna tell you John Bonham.
No, the best drummer's not John Bonham. Just keep dreaming. But it was Keith Moon until we unfortunately lost him. But it's Ringo Starr's son.
They actually
Oh,
tour.
no kidding.
Ringo Starr's son is the drummer for
They tour still?
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
they're coming to Pittsburgh, I think, this year.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Are you young?
Huh?
You young?
Oh, of course.
Hmm.
And I tell you the crazy story real quick before we keep going here. If you remember, who was the editor for Fire Engineering Magazine that just passed away? He had cancer. Anyway, he was a roadie for the Who in the 70s, and he still to the day, actually, Pete Townsend actually went to his funeral, I think.
Huh.
Wow.
They were still friends all the way up through him passing.
I mean,
I can't remember. I can't think of his name. I apologize. I can't think of his name.
That's a sign of old age,
I know.
forgetting stuff.
you have to Google it. All right, so welcome to our first guest. This is Amber. She's with Bella Terra
Hi, Amber.
Stables. Hello, Amber. How are you?
Hey, Amber.
Doing well, guys. Thanks so much for having me on tonight.
Thanks for coming on. Before we jump in, we got a real quick promotion we got to run here. We'd like to thank our sponsor, FireCam, the one and only manufacturer of helmet cameras built for firefighters. For over a decade, FireCam has been hell-bent on making durable, heat-resistant cameras worthy of the fire service. But they don't stop there. FireCam also offers dash cams, body cams, drones, and more. Their new FireCam Blackjack flashlight kit is a must-have for interior firefighting. With 3 helmet cameras to choose from, the FireCam Mini 1080, the FireCam 1080, and the FireCam Onyx 4K, there's an option for every firefighter. Order now at firecam.com. All right, welcome back, Amber. So we get your information up there for Bella Terra Stables. Tell us a little bit about your program, your stables you got there.
Yeah, again, thanks, guys, so much for having us on tonight. We are a nonprofit organization that focuses on equine-assisted therapy and learning programs for individuals, families, and communities. All of our work is done on a 26-acre farm in Murrysville, Pennsylvania. We have 12 horses they all have their own personalities and the quirks, and so it's never a dull moment around here. And we really, our aim is to just focus on mental health and well-being for everyone. We have people that come that maybe need a little extra help on just basic anxiety, all the way up into PTSD and PTSIs, complex trauma, all of that. And we do it all through the guise of horses are our partners, and they work alongside of us.
So nice. So how many horses do you have there?
We have 12, all of varying ages and breeds. Predominantly, they're an older group of horses, and all of these horses have come to us with their own stories, their own traumas, their own challenges that they've overcome. One of the interesting things that we do here is that we don't ride them. It is all work on the ground with the horses, making that connection, that trust, and that relationship. And for a lot of kids, it's a really interesting way to learn about themselves and their families and their communities through the eyes of a horse.
So you can tell me a little bit more about like how you acquire the horses or where they come from, what their stories are?
Yeah, most of our horses are donated to us. People that have had horses that have either aged out of riding programs or other organizations, they can't be ridden anymore, they sustained injuries, they'll ask to rehome them to Bella Terra. And so we like I said, we have a really interesting group of horses that have come from all over. We started our program in Washington, D.C. at the public stable down there. And so a lot of the horses that we have actually are from that stable that needed to retire.
Oh.
But we've picked up a lot of Pennsylvania locals on the way too.
And once you get a horse, what do you have to do with the horse before it's ready to go into meeting, people?
Yeah, that's the really cool thing about the work that we do. Oftentimes we don't really do anything. We just allow them to be who they are. We, of course, will handle them, we'll work with them, we'll make sure that any kind of residual trauma that they might have isn't going to spill over to the client. But for the most part, we allow them to be who they are. And one of the things that a lot of people ask me, they'll say, why do you use horses? And there's so many different reasons why, but kind of one of the obvious ones is that they're big. On average, they weigh about 1,000 pounds. And so when you are sharing space with a horse, 1,000-pound horse, or even like 4, 5 of them, you are very present. You are in the here and now. And a lot of the stuff that might be kind of rolling around in the heads of the thoughts, the intrusive thoughts, they kind of like are at bay when you're with horses. all your senses are firing. You're very aware of just being with that horse. The other interesting issue or interesting fact about horses is that they're herd animals. And so this idea that they need to connect and be together is so important. For them, the herd is everything. And so you'll see horses in the wild that are always together, and you'll see them in domestic situations as well, where if they don't have that herd, they don't have safety, they don't have sustainability, and they crave that. The other interesting thing is that the horses' hearts are so big, they're about the size of a football. Comparatively, ours is about the size of a fist. And so there's been so many researchers, so many people out there studying how horses' heartbeats sync up with each other. So if you can imagine a herd of horses out in the wild and they're all grazing and they're relaxed and they have their heads down, one horse spots a predator. That heartbeat kicks up, everyone else starts to feel it. And that triggers the sort of moving away from the danger. What we found here and in lots of different programs that do this type of work is that horses have the ability to sense our heartbeats from anywhere between 6 to 10 feet away. So you come in with anxiety, your heartbeat is like really going. A horse shares some space with you. They have been doing studies now that the horse can regulate our heartbeats as well. And one of the interesting stories that I had just happened to me recently was we had an EMT come down. There was a big accident during that storm that happened at the end of April. There was a big accident on the road, and they were working on clearing the road. And this gentleman came down, and I had just been walking a horse in, and he came by, and he just kind of put his hand on her back. And we were chit-chatting, making small talk, and he turns to me and he says, "Why do I feel different? What's going on?" And I thought he was kind of joking with me a little bit, but he's like, no, like, I really feel like settled. And I have to believe like there was that electromagnetic field that kind of just regulates heartbeats with these big animals. And then the other issue is that they are prey animals. A lot of people don't realize because they're so big, they are prey animals. So they are paying attention to everything around them. A leaf could twitch from like 30 yards away, and that means something to them. They are constantly paying attention. Now, if you think about this, if you're in a constant state of alert, you're constantly paying attention, one would think that that anxiety level would kick up and it would just consume you. Horses have evolved to be sort of on this, like the idea of like polyvagal theory is that they can reach a state of calm. So in the polyvagal theory, this idea of like the first hierarchy, the first most important thing is like having calm, having community, having the safety. They can find that when something comes up, they can respond to it, deal with it, and they'll go right back down into calm. So we like to think of horses in the herd. They 95% of the time they maintain calm observation. They are paying attention. They know exactly what's around them at all times, but they're not letting that anxiety like rev up in them. If they were to let that anxiety rev up on them and there was a predator, they wouldn't have the energy to deal with the problem. So they have mastered this. They're incredible masters at like having calm observation. When something kicks up, they deal with it. And then immediately after it's over, they come back down to calm. So we like to joke, we think about it like we're the opposite. We kind of sometimes, for the most part, live in a sense of like higher anxiety. We go to yoga class, or we drink a cup of tea or take a walk and breathe or watch Netflix or whatever we're going to do. And then the minute that's over, we go right back into anxiety. So horses really are our guides and our teachers in this type of work.
So tell me a little history. How did you get started, or how the stables get started?
Yeah, it actually, we started in Washington, D.C. I had been the general manager for the public stable down there for about 20 years before moving here. It was a massive stable. We worked, we did lessons programs for veterans, birthday parties, trail rides, camps, anything you can imagine. It was very busy. And we were part of the national park. So, right in Rock Creek Park. And so it was a high pressure situation where there was always people coming in and out. And because we were in the national park, anybody could come in and see the horses, which was amazing and wonderful. For people who couldn't afford the lessons, they could come see them. And so during my 20 years of being the general manager down there, I would have on numerous occasions throughout those 20 years, people would find me and they would come up to me and they would say things like, I need you to know that that horse saved my child's life,
Wow.
or this place helped our family get through something really difficult. And it happens so often that we just got to thinking, like, there's got to be a way to kind of provide horses to people who are struggling, who might need to find that calm in the community and that connection. And so we started doing some research, and there's a lot of different modalities in the equine-assisted psychotherapy world. We specifically will use solution-focused theory, narrative theory, and most recently, in terms of complex trauma and PTSIs, EMDR. So there's equine-assisted EMDR. And we started down in DC working with a lot of the older horses that couldn't do the heavy work that we were asking them to do. And then, of course, COVID hit and the barn shut down. And at that point, I really knew this is the work I wanted to do. And so I started looking for other barns in Virginia, Maryland, and there was nothing around. It was COVID. Everybody was like, nope, doors shut. And I just happened to be on the phone with my parents, and my dad said, hey, why don't you come home? Your grandparents' farm is empty. You could start again up here in the
Wow.
Pittsburgh area. And so Bella Terra is located on my grandparents' 26-acre farm that was left empty for quite a while before we got here. So in 2020, I quit my job. The licensed therapist who was working with me, she quit her job. We moved to Pittsburgh with 7 retired horses that didn't have a home. And that's how Bella Terra started.
Wow.
Nice. So we have your website up there if anybody wants to go check out the website. But do you guys accept donations for your program?
Yes, we do. These horses eat a lot. They have a lot of needs. They eat a lot. And one of our goals is to make sure that in their retirement and in the last years of their life with us, that they have the very best. So any donations are always welcome. We're looking for volunteers too. Dawn, I'd love to talk to you about maybe trying to get some of the guys in here to do some volunteering and do some mentoring for some of our kids.
Yeah, definitely. And
Shovel stalls.
yeah,
And stalls, always stalls. There's never.
I don't shy away from any work. So I'm in.
so what kind of effect do you notice on some people or groups that come visit the horses? What kind of effect do you see?
Yeah, it's you can do all the studies on horses and how they help people, but it's not until you actually experience it and you see it do you realize that there's just something extra special going on there. I'll tell you a quick story about a veteran that we had. One of our horses that she's no longer with us, she passed. She was a horse that had severe abuse. Beautiful paint quarter horse, had severe abuse, very distrustful of men. Probably one of the worst cases of horse abuse I've ever seen in my life, to the point where she displayed signs of dissociation, and horses don't do that often. And so at the same time, she was here with us, and she had worked through a lot of her challenges through that past abuse, but she also was very guarded and very hesitant about some men. At the same time, we had a veteran that was coming for therapy with us and really struggling with not only complex trauma of childhood, but also some post-traumatic injuries of his own, being in the military, seeing some action there. He would come in with so much pain and so much anger, and he would just sort of like verbally release it in the field. And one day we went into the field, all the horses were out. We do all of our work with them all the time. We're rarely in the house at all. And we walked out into the field, and he was really struggling this day. You could just feel the pain that was coming off of him. And he went to touch her as he was walking through the gate. And she gave him a look. She's like, oh, no, 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 you're not getting near me. And she got the distance that she needed. But as we walked down, we got into a level spot. And he continued to talk. And I'm noticing all the horses coming around us, like circling us.
Wow.
And they all had their heads down and they were eating. And this one mare who was afraid of men, she joined the circle, and she didn't put her head down to eat. She just stared at him and just kept her eyes on him the entire time. And there was a moment where he kind of stopped talking, and I said to him, and we'll often use the same words that they use. So I said, if anybody knows what it's like to get the shit kicked out of him, it's that horse right there. And he just sort of turned around and he looked at her, and she looked at him, and we decided to take a moment to see if we couldn't slow it down a little bit, try to like quiet the voices a little bit, quiet the pain that was inside. And he went over, we encouraged him to see if he couldn't just regulate his breathing, regulate his heartbeat, just sink into the ground. A lot of horse trainers will just let it sink and just actually slow their heartbeats down to make sure that the horses feel comfortable. And he actually did. It was really cool. He worked at just slowing everything down, and he did it so well that he actually was able to go over to her and put his hand on her back. And we're looking at each other like, I can't believe this is happening. And as he's putting his hand on her back, she starts to lower her head. And at that moment, he says to her, "You can lay down now." And she does.
Wow.
I've never seen anything like it. And she goes down, and that is the most vulnerable position a horse could be in, because remember, they're prey animals. They're going to be on all 4 feet if they're worried. She laid down, and he crouched down with her, and they spent a good 20 minutes down there together. And whatever kind of magic she was working, he needed that. Because for at least 15 minutes, things were a little quieter. And there was a little bit of breathing there. And the takeaway that he found was that throughout all of her trauma, she was able to be vulnerable, and it kind of opened a door for him.
Wow.
Oh yeah. So it's not just therapy for people; it's therapy for the horses too, huh?
I believe we help each other. Yeah, I mean, she was different after that. Like, there was a moment where she recognized that she could be vulnerable and that she was going to be okay.
Wow.
So,
do you have any advice for people that are scared of horses?
we actually have a lot of people that come to us and they're scared of horses. What we always say, look, any information that your body is giving you is important information. You should listen to it, especially our kiddos that come. So often we're like, get in there, be brave, don't worry about it. But you wouldn't tell an 18-year-old who's going off to college, just get in there, go to that party, be brave. You got to pay attention to how you're feeling. And if you're walking into a space with a 1,000-pound animal and your heart rate is kicked up, take a minute and wait till you're ready and go in. We never, I always encourage people to go at their own pace. It doesn't take long with the horses. We've had people who are really scared, and in about 15, 20 minutes, they're in the ring with the horses.
Wow.
So.
Well, Amber, we were there. Barry and I were there a couple of weeks ago, and it is a little intimidating. It is.
They're
I remember
big.
walking through the barn, but yeah, once you're in there and talking and petting and yeah,
Yeah,
good feeling.
yeah, it's pretty amazing what they do. in terms of like helping with kids in the learning program, some of the pictures that you saw today were from schools, local schools. We'll take horses into schools and we'll work on things like handling big emotions, confidence, facing fear, all things that horses do amazingly at and can teach us. So it's kind of cool when you see these children these students who are having a hard time in school, having a hard time fitting in, dealing with grief, dealing with stress, self-esteem, and they turn around and they lead 1,000-pound animal, and that animal goes with them and wants to go with them and wants to connect because there's a trust relationship that's been built. That's pretty special for them, and they don't forget that. It's one thing if I were to go in and just tell them, you should be confident, don't worry about it, you're good. They'll forget that. They won't hear me, but they don't forget what the horses teach them.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, Amber. I mean, it sounds like it's an awesome program, a good resource for people that are going through some struggles. If anybody is curious about it and wants to learn more, go to the website. We have it up there on the screen. You scan the QR code. Also, the website's in our description. So check it out.
Okay. Thank you guys so much.
Nice to meet you.
Amber.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, I see it. Go ahead, start my second.
Copy, requesting second.
Hey, all right. Welcome back. We are back here. It feels like deja vu again with Chief Deputy Fire Marshal for Allegheny County, Donald Brucker, DB. What's up with you?
Deja vu. Thanks, Dan, for letting me stay over for a week. I appreciate that. Hospitality was great.
Yeah.
The food was great. Food was great.
So we're going to pick up where we left off last week. We talked about the National Registry for cancer, but we wanted to get on, I'll throw it up on the screen too. We wanted to get a little bit more discussion about cancer and firefighting and your thoughts on it and prevention and what we can do.
Well, I don't think it's a new topic. I think it's one of those topics in the fire service that we kind of shy away from, for many reasons. One of the things I think that we can do better is the exposure reduction. I think when everybody hears that, for cancer in the fire service, and they want us to do this and they want us to do that to try to, mitigate it, if you will, we need to think of it more like, how do we reduce our exposure, right? How do we make sure that we're wearing our SCBAs when we're doing all stages of the fire attack and overhaul operations? And how do we do the decon afterwards and getting the byproducts of combustion off you? There's a lot of things going around the country. I know, like Florida, California, they have these trucks that go around that are loaded with spare gear from head to toe, and they show up at a fire scene, and they're switching out gear right then and there. So the firefighter's not without gear, right? Sounds great, but that's a pretty robust program that took them several years to do, and I think you're going to see it more and more. It's going to take off more, but a lot of fire companies can't afford 2 sets of gear for all their members, right? So you're going back to the station, you're trying to get it clean, try to get it dry. How do you do it? When do you do it? What's the best practice for doing it? Gear washers, extractors, all this stuff. But again, I think what it really comes down to is what we do at the fire scene, and it doesn't just affect the fire service personnel. It's a much broader view. I mean, we look at it in our job as fire investigators, and I don't know if we talked about this last week or not, but who's in more fire scenes for longer durations of time, a firefighter or a fire investigator, right? So we have really even changed our methodology, if you will, in our office in wearing, different protective layers of clothing and in jumpsuits, if you will, so we don't have openings that can allow the byproducts of combustion and particulate matter to get in or get on your skin. And then it starts to go in these, vulnerable areas, your neck, your groin, your underarms. And the most important thing, and you probably have heard about it, some of these campaigns like shower within the hour, you have to get the stuff off you. And then it turns into, well, what do I get? Do I get this wipe or that wipe? You know what? Go to the dollar store, get some wipes, get it off you, right? When you get back to the station, You know, whenever you're done doing what you need to do, get cleaned up, get a shower, get your clothes. And I know it is literally such a hot topic, no pun intended, on how we do this. And there's a lot of things going around. I know a local fire chief I talked to probably about a year ago, he hired a company to come in to detail the interior of all their rigs in the station. And he monitored the process, and more importantly, the water that came out of the process. They used like a steamer, right?
Yeah.
And they went in and did all the dashboards and the seats, and they did the seats multiple times. And they were doing even SCBA straps. That water was like black as night,
Yeah, I bet.
you know? And a lot of times we don't think about it. We were at a fire scene. It was myself and Michelle and one of our ride-alongs recently, and it was a revisit of a fire scene. And the fire scene is probably about 2 months old. And we were in there and we had a portable light set up. And I looked over at that light. I'm like, holy crap. Like you can't see a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, right? Like you can see smoke, but you can't see all the byproducts of combustion that get dried out over time. And then you walk back in there and all you're doing is stirring it up. I should have sent you that video, and I will. I will say it. I took a quick video because it's a bright quartz light, and I just shot across the front of the light, and it's nothing but, they call it nanoparticles. It's just those smaller particles are the ones that get way, way down deep in your lungs, that get in your pores. You know, did we talk about saunas? Were we talking about that? Yeah, saunas. Yeah, Dan. And that's a big thing coming into fire service too. You know, getting saunas in these stations where, you know, you go take a shower and then you jump into the sauna and it's forcing all that stuff out of your pores. So, you know, I'm still learning, and it's a learning process, but I talk to other fire investigators around the country, and specifically fire investigators who are in these, you know, scenes, and some of them are working with full SCBA on. Now, these are guys that come from, you know, paid departments that have all these resources. And, you know, I want to, again, nobody's going to be perfect at this, right? How do we reduce, right? How do we reduce our exposure?
You will never eliminate it.
Yeah, it's never going to be eliminated. It's never going to be eliminated. But, you know, I know there's still people out there that, you know, maybe respond to the scene in their POV and they take that gear and they throw it in there. I shared that video with you guys, right? The hidden dangers of bunker gear.
Oh yeah.
You know, if the audience wants to go see something that will hit home, you go do that. And University of Miami did a study, and what they used was a similar powder that's used for theft detection, right? Or schools did, when schools would have a lot of fire alarms, they would put this, they call it the invisible powder, on the underside of the fire alarm. So, you know, they have some suspected people doing it, hit it with a blue light and your hands light up yellow. It's kind of hard to say, wasn't me.
They used to do it with pool boxes in the city years ago.
Yeah, same thing. So they did that with some fire crews, and they followed them from a simulated fire scene, right, to the engine, to the station, to home. And, you know, you see that, you get the gist of this contaminants in the air when you're at the fire scene, but it really hits home. And the father, the firefighter, was playing ball with his kid, and you can see the yellow fluorescent on the firefighter who's now home, on the ball, and now on his kid. Wow. So, you know, it's one of them things, and I think back because, you know, I was a canine handler for many years, and I never even thought about it, you know. And then when I started getting educated to it, you know, my wife and I had a couple conversations like, you remember that just come home, I would just, you know, jump in bed.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I remember a couple of times like coming up, and I'm like, I had to common courtesy to leave my dirty clothes outside the bedroom door. And I remember her waking up like, I think the house is on fire. I'm like, no, it's not on fire. It's just my dirty ass clothes that are right outside the door.
Gina's old Scott pack there is probably not a good idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
That hasn't been in a barn in several years.
You know what? We should do something with that. That'd be kind of cool, man. But I'll tell you, you know, there's a lot of things that happen in the fire service. And, you know, we talked about that National Firefighter Cancer Registry. And those are the things I think that we need to do better at, because it's collecting data for the doctors, and these universities are doing elaborate studies on here to find out. And we talked about this, I think, last week, right? You know, you talked about like a colonoscopy, and that starts at the age of, what is it now, 50? Is it 50?
I think 50, yeah.
But, you know, there's groups of firefighters that are coming up with colorectal cancer at younger ages. So you got to start, you know, if we want to change the gauge here a little bit to get better screening. And, you know, like I said, we developed on the fire investigation side, we developed a white paper, and we developed a letter that any of us that are employed as fire investigators can take to your doctor. You hand it to them, and it tells you exactly what you do for a living and exactly the recommended tests. Well, let me tell you, there's probably 10 or 12 tests on there. When I went to visit my doctor, he says, yeah, we'll do these ones, but I can't sign off on these ones. And again, you know, the insurance industry drives a lot of this stuff. I get it. I do. But we can't sit back and wait. You know, I think we talked about this before too. Whose job is it? Who is responsible for your well-being, mentally and physically? If you're
Your job, yeah.
you, and I know sometimes, and people have a hard time with that, but it's the truth. You know, we have come, even in our little unit of, you know, six investigators and me, you know, we wear specialized respirators. You know, we wear eye protection, we hand protection. You know, we're wearing this stuff. We have our own laundry, and all of us are, you know, associated with a fire department of some sort that we can go to and wash our gear, right? We have multiple sets of jumpsuits that we can switch out, because it's not uncommon for the, you know, the guys and the girls to be at a scene, and then before they're even done with the scene, they have another one come in. Yeah. So they got to go to that one. And then you worry about cross-contamination, and you don't want to drag it into your vehicle. And, you know, we try to strategically order our vehicle with like the pleather seats in, or seat covers that can be taken out and washed. I even have a steering wheel cover, you know, like a silicone one in my truck that I take out and I wash off. You just don't want it on there. Then we're out there, you know, what do we all do? What are we looking for when we come out of a good working fire? You know, you're nasty, dirty, hot, drink, eat, looking for food, right?
Smoke.
Here we go. Yeah, smoke. You know, smoke. Keith the smoke. No smoking for Keith. So we go over to the Sally wagon, right? And we're either reaching into there or they're reaching out to us. And here we go. And
hugging.
Yeah, all this stuff.
Oh, you see a person, you know, you see a guy who's running an air truck for whatever company, and you're like, I haven't seen you in a while. You go over, shake his hand, maybe give him a little hug.
Yeah.
Now you just give the
same thing. Yeah. And, you know, listen, I've heard it all. I've heard all the people want to argue, complain, say, I've been doing this for 35 years. And, you know, why am I going to change now? And well, you can change. You can reverse some of the stages of some of this stuff too. And I think that's what we need to pay attention to, right? We know better, do better. We need to lead by example, right? I don't know how else to put it. I mean,
there's so many things. I think I know you know this, but you know, we obviously had a line of duty death in the city from cancer not that long ago, and that was his brain cancer was directly tied to diesel particulate.
Yeah.
And they sent an expert in, or a person, and literally in both firehouses, every single item they checked had diesel particulate.
So isn't that, it's an interesting topic too, Gino, because how many fire stations now have exhaust systems in it?
Right.
I mean, that's pretty
Why
common.
don't they?
But it's pretty common that they do.
Absolutely.
But why?
That's where
okay. But yet we're going to stop there, right? And then we're into fire scenes and doing our things there more often for longer durations of time, and we're not giving it the same attention.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and I know there's some fire companies out there. I know McKeesport was involved with this a little bit, where you're doing like, you know, like some health screenings, right? Whether you do the 1582 firefighter physical or a health screening, some kind of screening to give you a baseline to figure out where you're at, right? It's not going to tell you it's an internal determination what the outcome of that is. What I mean by that, whatever you get from the screening should be visited with your PCP.
Absolutely. You have to.
Right? You have to. I mean, if somebody told me I have high blood pressure, I don't want to just shrug my shoulders and say, no big deal, right? I mean, I want to deal with it. I don't want to be a liability on the fire scene, you know, because the last thing you want to do is to go down for the count. And, you know, I know we're talking specifically here about, you know, cancer in the fire service, but I think a bigger killer in the fire service right now is heart disease, you know, and it's way up there. And again, I don't think as a fire service that we put enough emphasis on health screenings and just being well, right? Just being well for each other, right? We owe it to our families too, right? We definitely owe it to our families.
You know, we brought up the heart disease, not to work up the cancer, but we put 2 world-class gyms. I didn't, but through the fire chief and through multiple other people.
Yeah, you guys
2
did.
world-class gyms.
Those things are nice.
In our firehouses.
Yeah.
And, you know, just for guys, and some deputies will say, hey, go, you got 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Go.
There's no dust on that equipment. I can tell you that. I saw it.
Yeah.
I know. And it's good, you know. And again, you know, there's multiple reasons for that. And I get it. It all comes down to time too, right? You know, everybody's time is valuable. Everybody. All of our time is valuable.
We're fortunate that we're captive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
But yeah, getting back to that, I mean,
we're getting exposed to more and more
yeah,
craziness out there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, more and more craziness. We have this challenge right now, lithium batteries, whether it's in the house, whether it's in our own equipment at the fire station, whether it's a vehicle fire we're responding to, and they bring some more challenges. And, you know.
You just real quick on the National Fire Registry before we switch over to lithium batteries.
Yeah.
Last week we threw a challenge out there that we're going to give a fire cam away to the department that registered the most. We still encourage everybody to register to get on that. Let's get Allegheny County and surrounding counties on the map. But the only problem is that we figured out we can't find on the website how many members from each department has registered, so that giveaway is not going to be possible. But we'll come up with something.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
we're going to figure it out.
Maybe some possible.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that, but I still encourage you. I think it's a great thing to register for that.
Keep
like Dawn
registering,
says.
yes, keep registering.
Yeah, please
if
keep registering.
We can find out that, hey, you know, like he says, like certain cancer starting in your 40s for firefighters, then you know, that's going to help all firefighters down the road to get screenings and stuff for those things. So
I was just reading an update today, like 2/3 of the firefighters in the United States will eventually contract some type of cancer, most likely related to their service in the fire department.
Yeah.
So
I'm going through, Dawn sends a video here of a lithium battery fire in a house. I'm going to throw it up here. We'll watch together. You guys can talk. It's I can hear us still.
yeah, this was a good video. And actually, there's a couple of these videos on the internet. And really the reason I dug this one up today is somebody in our department reached out to me. The city of Pittsburgh just had a fire involving a dog, I think yesterday, the day before, down Point Breeze. And, you know, the media was inquiring, like, how common is it? You know, well, it's not, I'm not going to say it's common, but it's definitely not uncommon. I mean, you know, we are inherently our own worst enemies, right? And for those of you that have dogs that like to get into garbage cans and, you know, got to work, got to go out of the house. And what do you do with that garbage can? Or what do you do with that plastic container of food? We put it up on top of the stove. Not so much, we've had it on gas stoves too, but more likely on electric stoves. And then the dog goes up there and is trying to get in the can or the container slides back, it bumps the control switch, turns it to the left or to the right, and away we go.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not uncommon. But like this one here we just had, that dog was chewing on a battery pack. And, you know, I can't tell you, we haven't had one of those that I'm aware of yet. But again, you have a chewer, look out.
Well, I mean, not even, chewers for sure, but think about how many lithium ion batteries are in a normal, like a regular home.
Mhm.
It's unfat. Like we have the little cars, you know, the ride along little cars to the portable radios to
Cell phone,
toys,
watches,
every toy, toy.
flashlights.
Anything that's rechargeable basically has a
and
lithium ion battery, right?
Yeah, basically we just did a fire
Right.
up in Reserve Township, and Eli and I went back over to take a look at the scene, and he said that the owner of the property is like, there's some rechargeable batteries in there. We picked up 60 18650 cells, and it in the area probably was only like 20 by 20, right? I was like, holy heck, like, you know, and there was more of them in other buildings on the property, but this was the one that was on fire. It's not a lithium battery fire, but they're exposed to heat. They're exposed to the damage, if you will. The last thing you want to do is go over and say, oh, check this bad battery out. You pick it up and it rockets off in your hand, because your reaction time's not going to be very quick. It's just not.
That's what just amazes me, how quickly, when they get a thermal runaway, how quickly they just take off.
Oh, yeah.
The fire grows.
And it's really interesting is just how new it is. It's not the lithium ion batteries aren't relatively new, but us combating them has become a major challenge.
Yeah.
And as of right now, I mean, there's a couple maybe stopgaps you want to say or whatever, but it's really, you know, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that, like, you know, extinguishment procedures, you know, for the fire service.
Yeah, it's unique, right? And again, you don't know going into a building if it's a lithium battery that set off the fire, or when you're going down a hallway, you know, there's a scooter parked in a room that's getting exposed by the heat of the fire, and then it lights off.
Right.
You know, there's all kind of things that could happen. They're saying water's still the best, right? Water's still the best. I mean, it might take a lot.
Copious amount.
You get a vehicle fire, battery operated vehicle, you're going to be dumping water on it. I'm telling you, you're going to be dumping a lot of water on it. And just when you think it's out, did we talk about the story from Fox Chapel about the vehicle?
No.
We did a fire there a couple of years ago, and it really damaged this mansion of a house. But inside of this detached garage was a Tesla. Now, the Tesla did not start the fire, but it got affected by the fire dramatically. So the house was under construction. I don't want to bore you with all the details, but we have to have what they call a joint scene exam. So we went back there. It was like 2.5 months after the initial fire, with all these experts that represented all these contractors and Tesla. And I think there was a BMW in there and a Chevy, and then the lead contractor and all their subcontractors. And there's like 40 people there. So the first thing we wanted to do is we want to get this remains of this Tesla the hell out of the garage. So everybody gets there, you know, they're doing all their things. We pull it halfway out, it's photographed, they jack it up in the air. The Tesla engineer goes underneath, he pulls this safety fuse out. He shows us all this orange safety fuse, so we're good. Smelts out of Monroeville comes on a flatbed. They drag it up on his flatbed. They tarp it. Everybody photographs it. See you later. Bye. We'll talk about it later. It doesn't start the fire, but we still need to maintain it as evidence. So Smelts guy goes blowing out the parkway, out the Smelts out there. It's like off of what's behind the mall? Is it Monroeville Boulevard? I think, but one of the roads back there. He's offloading it. It starts to make all this noise. He's like, what the heck? So he gets out and looks, and he goes, that's smoke. So he gets it off his truck, and it goes back into open flame and burns in their parking lot for 5 hours.
Wow.
And it's just amazing. Like, think about it. There's a fire that destroys it. 2.5 months go by. The safety fuse is pulled, hauled away, and then burns again.
What caused that? Was it even a secondary fire?
I think it's vibration, and the batteries are already compromised.
Okay.
Because people don't even understand the makeup of these lithium batteries, right? And they call it a jelly roll. When you look in it, there's an anode, a cathode, and a separator, and it's really, really thin, and then it's packed with electrolyte. You breach that or damage that in any way, shape, or form, you have the potential for a failure. If it's a single cell, you know, not too bad. But when you have a battery pack or a Tesla, which I think there's over 5,000 of those batteries in the floor of a Tesla. And let me tell you, when they start rocketing off, they're going everywhere. Yeah. I mean, they are shooting. It's pretty spectacular.
Let me ask you while I'm thinking about this. Is a lithium ion battery, when it goes into thermal runaway or goes into some sort of compromised position, is it worse when it's less charged or more charged?
Well,
is there any kind of studies on that?
Well, yeah, and there is. And again, you know what studies are, right? Somebody's going to argue one way or the other.
Yeah.
But I can tell you right now, you're never going to be able to tell typically how much charge is on a battery. You're just not, especially post-fire, because there's so much damage to it. There's no way. Now, some of these smart cars, right, they'll tell you on your phone. They'll tell you what stage, but it depends on if they're wired in series or parallel. And you know, the biggest problem, I think, with lithium batteries is the battery management system, right? It's a component that kind of manages the charge and discharge of these batteries and how it runs and how it operates. And sometimes they go bad too. We all have tools at home with lithium batteries in, right? You ever drop a battery ever?
Of course, yeah.
Right? What do? Pick it up. That looks good. Snap it back in.
Right.
Put it back on the charger.
Right. Fall out of the back of a truck.
Yeah. So, you know, again, we are our own worst enemies. We truly are.
That's what the reason I asked is that is I obviously probably everybody in this room and maybe everybody all have those external battery chargers.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the different ones. I have them in all my bug out bags.
Yeah.
So like, you know what I mean? If in that car, the go bag, in that car, the go bag, in that car, they all have them.
That's right. And again, for the most part, they're safe, right? I mean, unless they're compromised or some outside influence happens to them or a manufacturer defect, you know, again, you have, imagine this, imagine you go into a room, go to Home Depot, into the battery section, and there's a fire there. What battery started a fire? Which one of them?
Yeah.
Right. And that's the challenge you have here. So, you know, we have limited resources at the county, but we also have a lot of resources when we work with all these insurance companies, because they have some highly trained engineers. They have, you know, CT scanners and x-rays and things like that. That's how we learn. Right. But we're figuring out now, even some of the insurance companies are going, how do we store these? We take them as evidence, right? Because there's a subrogation process. Yeah. Right. It's recouping money. Yep. If your, you know, ABC battery tool caused my fire and to damage my house, your insurance company is going to go after those manufacturers. For sure. That's what's going to happen. But let me tell you, it's not easy. And that's why we talk about, you know, during overhaul and fire attack, you know, just minimize what you have to do. Put it out, you know, maintain it. Let us get there, get some information together, and then work through it. We just sat in a class about a week ago. There was a New York City retired hazmat chief. Retired, I mean, like within the last 6 months.
They've been dealing with a lot.
Oh my God. It's crazy. You go on their website and they track it all very specifically, but they have a really cool program in place because it's the city of New York. It's their trash department, right? So they all work together. And when they have these batteries, the hazmat team under the direction of the fire department works with the local New York City trash collectors, and they grab this stuff and they put it into containers and either put a red tag on it or a green tag, which means something different to them. And then they can take it off site to a facility where it's made safe until an insurance company says, hey, you know, we have this problem. They showed this video that happened in one of the main downtown parts, and they had a scooter shop there. And I can't remember. There was over 100 scooters in there, and batteries and battery components.
Shelves of batteries.
This thing just rocketed. I mean, it was unbelievable. Caught on video too. So they were able to isolate it down to a very distinct area of origin. But the problem is those batteries start to shoot. And I'm telling you, they'll go 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 feet. So how do I know what battery goes to what?
Well, and from what I understand, if you, depending on what brand tool you have, and you go out and you buy an 18 volt or a 34 volt or whatever battery for your drill or your impact gun or whatever, it might say it'll say the brand name on it, but who made the battery?
Well, and that's a big problem. In you know, we talk about it all the time, is probably most with cell phones, right? Our chargers break. So what do? We go down to the dollar store and we buy 4 chargers for $20.
Yeah.
Right. Well, You know, you got to put some thought into that. And if the manufacturers say you must use our brand charger to do what you need to do. But I get it. People are going to continue to do that. We talk about battery tools. You go on Amazon right now, look for, type in 18-volt DeWalt. You're going to get a bunch of black and yellow batteries come up, and there ain't the word DeWalt on any of them, right? You have to put some thought into that. So when we come in doing the fire investigation part of it, we're going to ask you those questions. You know, how did you order it? Did you have a receipt? Did you put it on a card? You know, we want to track that stuff down too. We've had a couple like kind of crazy incidents with them. I remember a couple of years ago, we had one of the airplanes that was coming in, not UPS, but it was one of the big planes that would haul cargo, and they're offloading their boxes on there, right? And soon as one gets on the ground, it starts to smoke. They lucked out. Wow. If that would have happened 15 minutes before that was up in the air, wow. You know, and I think, Dan, you ask me before about like, what do they do on airplanes, right? What do they do on airplanes? They're typically containing them. And, you know, we just came back from Florida. We were on a flight, and Southwest did a phenomenal job explaining that, right? What you have, where you have it. If you have this, it needs to be here. You know, there's different directions for different type of devices. But again, you know, I was in let's see, how do I want to call it without throwing a name out? I was in a well-known restaurant in an east suburban area recently. I walk in the door to get a coffee, and right in the vestibule is a e-bike. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, you know, like how it sparked questions. So is there any code? I asked this to somebody recently. Is there any codes in the city of Pittsburgh or our surrounding areas that dictate how you store them in a restaurant, or can you take them on an elevator? Can you take them on mass transit? Right. You know, what do you do? Now, you know, mass transit, they have the bike racks on the front, right? A lot of them do. Yeah. PRT does. But how about somebody hauling like a unicycle, that one little wheel thing? They'll grab that thing and they'll just carry right in with them. Yep. Right. There's a good video on the internet of this gentleman. I think he was over in China, but it's a video from inside the elevator, and he carries a battery pack. And listen, it is like, how does this happen? I mean, I think the door's just shut, right? And this battery pack goes off, and it critically, I don't even know if that guy survived. Wow. It critically injured him. And then we were just made aware of an incident that happened recently with electric vehicle fire, where a bunch of firemen, you know, got some smoke inhalation. You know, weren't really sure what was going on there, and a couple of them were in the hospital for 4 or 5 days with all kind of breathing problems.
For a vehicle fire. For
a vehicle fire, yeah. I mean, you know, you're out there, you don't know which way it's blowing, and again, there's so many challenges.
There is.
We had a fire over in the Millville area a couple of years ago now, and there was a solar array on the roof of this commercial building, and there was a bunch of battery storage. They weren't lithium batteries. They were lead acid. It was a really unique battery. Well, this battery wall went off. And luckily, one of the fire chiefs went in there and snapped a couple pictures before they had to bail the heck out of there. But let me tell you, it was credible because we knew exactly what battery failed. Wow. It was really cool. So again, you know, these incidents happen all the time. Yeah. They happen all the time.
Yeah, we had about 2 years ago, Pleasant Hills, we had, it was a hybrid pickup truck. Car fire came in and, I don't know, 3 in the morning or something, but I drove the engine, and I remember getting there, they pulled the line thinking like, all right, we'll be out here in about a half hour or something like that. I think we were there for like 4 hours. Yeah. We ended up having to hit a hydrant. We had to put a blitz fire. We actually put blitz fire underneath it just to try to cool the battery.
Yeah, there's really
would not go out.
There's a lot of products out there. I'm not here to endorse them. All I can tell you is what the New York City guy said. A lot of water. We know how to use it. Right. We already know how to use it. Right. Just you got to keep using it.
So this guy was a contractor, and he actually had a bunch of like either DeWalt, whatever brand it was, tools in the back of his pickup truck. And I'm not sure. I think there was some talk that they're not sure if one of the batteries in the pickup, the pickup truck actually started on fire and then caught the battery for the vehicle on fire too, or vice versa.
Somebody just sent me a video of a farmer. Now think about this. It's a great video. It's on, I think it was on YouTube. and this farmer is sitting out in the field, and you see a bunch of burned brush and stuff behind him, and he's showing you what happened. So he carries a rechargeable battery operated grease gun on his tractor,
Oh, of
right?
course,
A big combine. I mean,
yeah.
it rolled back against the exhaust coming out of it, and he's driving. It's behind him, and he says, "Why's all that smoke over there?" And he looks over, and half the field's on fire. Well, then he turns around and he sees this thing rocking more battery packs off of this tool. I'm like, holy heck.
Yeah, think about it. I'll tell you, those things are the best things in sliced bread.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how many times
Oh, my
you do
God.
this all day long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Listen, battery operated tools. How about in the fire service? Think about it.
everything.
Battery operated tools in the fire service. I mean,
I was just thinking about this while we were sitting here, and I've been in the fire service since 1987. Dan, obviously, a lot longer than that. I can't think of a hurdle that we've had to overcome in my career.
right,
I mean, we've had different, little things, and they've been easily fixed.
right.
Hey, we got this on fire. Okay, this is what you do. Whatever, blah, blah, blah. When they started using magnesium in engine blocks.
Oh, yeah.
In the 70s.
In the old Volkswagen.
The old
Oh,
Volkswagen
yeah.
buses.
Oh, yeah.
When you get one of those off,
You
that
throw
was
water on that,
yeah. But
you
then,
definitely
now
know.
you use this to do that. But there's nothing's come out yet.
Well,
Like,
they have
not,
extinguishers, but Dawn's saying they.
Yeah, there's so many things
I'm
out
going to
there.
think like the Yawk or the Mon River.
Well, you know what? There's there actually are some areas, and they actually have like a dumpster on a truck. They bring,
I've
set it
seen
there,
that.
and bring a
I've seen
car.
that.
But think about it. But let me
The
tell you,
logistics of
okay, it's going to probably suffocate it out. What's going to happen when you take it back out of there?
Yeah.
I just got done telling you what happened to that Tesla. And I'm going to tell you,
That's what I'm saying. It's such a hurdle.
it is.
I seen something recently. I think it pierces the battery now. You
Oh,
put it
yeah.
down there and it pierces into the battery and
Yeah.
it puts the water.
And you know, it's
inside
like
out.
anything
That sounds
else.
safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like anything else.
They got those blankets too, but then
Yeah.
I think they ran into a problem where once you take those blankets off, all that gas comes out.
Well, not only that, but they were doing some testing with those blankets, and they're throwing the blankets over these cars, and the off gassing is in filling the blankets up like a balloon, and then that flammable
Yeah.
vapor gets ignited, or could, right?
Well, a
But
little bit of
again,
oxygen gets underneath that blanket.
but again, listen, what we don't talk about is how do we, as society, how do we properly dispose of them, right? So I live in
Throw it in
Plumber.
the garbage.
Yeah, and then you're driving down the street, and then God forbids there's a garbage truck
Trucks on fire.
inside a Squirrel Hill tunnel. Now you're mad at pissed off at the world because you're late for work, right?
Absolutely. I mean, just
But what am I saying is, what does your respective jurisdiction have in place for their residents? Do they? I live in Plum, right? I was just on the phone with them the other day because I'm getting ready to do another presentation on lithium batteries, and they have, it's called e-waste program. Doesn't cost you anything. You call them, you could go online. I already got my schedule. So I'm going to get rid of 2 flat panel TVs, a microwave, and I have a couple small batteries. I brought this up to another big eastern suburb official this week. Hey, don't you have a Lowe's? Yeah. They have a battery reclamation program there? Yeah. Do you know it's inside the building? What? I'm like, it's inside the building. Like, I said, they really need to move it outside. And when they do that, don't put it next to the propane tanks, right? I mean, this is the stuff that it's great that they have it. I don't know if anybody else does it out there, but there's areas, there are. City of Pittsburgh has a really nice program in place now. They work with, their fire department hazmat team and their public works or DPW or sanitation. There's some kind of very similar in New York City. And they have it working good. I mean, do you see there was just on the news, they were demoing that big apartment building fire? It happened a couple of weeks ago.
yeah.
And during the demo process, one of the excavators grabbed a bunch of debris and crushed a scooter, and it went into a runaway. Yeah, I'm like, holy heck.
It's just going to keep happening. I mean,
Well, it
the
is.
scooters have exploded in my town.
Yeah.
And they're kids, that's a good mode of transportation for them. And they're everywhere.
Yeah.
They're literally becoming everywhere.
I've
because
seen houses
prices
burned to the ground because of this.
And
Right.
what happened was, say, even back during COVID, I remember watching some YouTube videos of people I follow, and they have e-bike reviews and blah, blah, blah. And then you would look, and the prices were insane.
Oh, yeah.
Now they're half to a quarter of those prices.
Well, we ran into a couple incidents where we had some guys, young guys and older adults that race these RC cars.
Oh yeah.
And they have these lithium battery packs in them now. And what they were doing is you could go online and Google it. It's going to show you how to do stuff, right? How do you rejuvenate a dead battery? I mean, it's just like Tim the Toolman Taylor, like rewire it, like craziness. But they wrap it with like these heat wraps. It's crazy what they do. I get it. But again, we need to be educated to so many different things, right? So many different things, and be aware your head got to be on a swivel, and your learning process needs to be on a swivel, because it's going to pass you by. It's going to, and it's only a matter of time. I hate to say it. It's going to be a matter of time before one of our fire trucks, you come in and
Has a battery.
yeah, there's one of the compartment doors all bulged out. And you're like, what the
I'm
heck?
going to tell you stuff. I've jumped a tractor with a battery.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
And now I'm thinking, man, these
These things are badass.
they are,
Yeah.
but it's also
Juice.
very dangerous. You got 2 paper clips
Yeah.
and a lithium-ion battery.
Yeah.
And you're,
We had a fire in McKeesport in the back of an ambulance. You remember that?
no.
It wasn't maybe a couple of years ago, and I remember Chief Miller's like, "Hey, you got to come down and look at this," because they're thinking one of their it doesn't really matter.
Shocking machines.
No, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, or was it the stretcher? Because they're all
Yeah.
They're
right?
electric.
But
yeah.
but it wasn't. It was a patient that was recently on there, had a little satchel with a phone in it, and when they returned back to the base after they dropped this patient off, they put everything back together, and it got crushed
Oh.
underneath there. And luckily they were there and it got out real quick. It didn't really do much damage, but I'm like, holy heck, it can happen anywhere, right? It can happen anywhere. We did a fire, Pittsburgh Mills Mall. It was just open. It was a very expensive fire in one of the card stores, right? And we have it all in video, these little button batteries, right? The little 2032 batteries.
Oh yeah.
They come shipped in a box, but they're individually like placed in like a sleeve, right? So they don't touch. And the manager, we see him plain as day. He has 2 of them, 2 boxes of 30. He gets a Ziploc bag and he dumps one box into it, dumps the other box, tosses it underneath the counter, and they leave. Like 6 hours later, like a counter that would be in any kind of retail shop where a hole would be cut for like running wires and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, there's no wires there, but we're watching a video. You see smoke come out, some more smoke come out, a little bit of orange, bigger orange. All the sprinklers go off and away it goes. Now, there's more water damage than anything, right? But we're like scratching our heads like there's no wiring here. There's nothing. So we're like, what are all these? Because they look different after a fire, right? But yeah, because now if you buy them, they'll have a peel thing off.
It's like 2 layers.
Yeah. Well, but that's why they're trying to combat complacency. That's what you're trying to do.
You can't fix
right?
it.
No, you can't. I think we talked about this too. I bought a toolbox at home, metal toolbox, and that's where I keep my batteries at. It's vented. I'm not going to say it's not going to start a fire, but it's not going to be rocking it all over the place.
Right. At
It's
least
not.
you're going to get a little bit of time.
Yeah, but again, I don't run a dishwasher, when I go to bed or I leave. I don't run a dryer when I go to bed or I leave.
No.
I don't park cars in a garage. I'll do some weird things because of things we see. So
Just dump tractors with them.
yeah, tractors with them.
Wrap it up there. We'll jump into some news. All right, so I won't have too much on the news stories here this week, but one I thought was relevant to our discussion earlier. So a firefighter from Richmond, Virginia has filed a lawsuit against several major manufacturers of turnout gear and chemicals, including 3M, DuPont, Chemours, Honeywell, Lion Group, Globe, and MSA, claiming that the PFAS forever chemicals in his gear caused him to develop leukemia. Firefighter Jonathan Clark, he said he wore a PFAS containing gear through his 20-year career. He's never warned about the health risk. His suit accuses the companies of knowingly producing and selling the gear, despite decades of evidence that PFAS chemicals can accumulate in the body and cause cancer. So 3M recently moved the case from Virginia State Court to federal court, saying part of the alleged exposure involved PFAS, a firefighting foam made under military specifications. They also are asking that the case be transferred into nationwide PFAS multi-district litigation already underway in South Carolina. Lawsuit adds to growing wave of firefighter cancer cases across the country, all centered on PFAS exposure from turnout gear and foam. So I don't know a lot about that. But the PFAS, the chemicals, I think it's to waterproof the gear that they're using.
Yeah, that's what it is, water repellent. But you know what? It's found in a lot of things. It's found like non-stick cookware. I mean, it's really found in a lot of things. And I think the industry is working to reduce the amount or change the amount. We just got new FR coveralls, and it was said right on the tag, PFAS compliant or something to that degree. I'm like, wow, that's again, I think you're going to see more and more of that, and they're really working hard on doing
We've
it.
changed our lifestyle just in our house.
Yeah.
With the pans,
Oh yeah.
with using wooden utensils instead of any of those covered coated. Yeah.
Yeah.
And multiple other things too. But yeah, try to get rid of those PFAS.
So like just wearing the gear can cause us.
Yeah.
Those chemicals in the
Because
gear.
you're sweating in it.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So your pores are open. That fabric with, if I'm not an expert, but it gives off of
It's a chemical.
yeah, it's a chemical.
Yeah, like a chemical leaching, if you will.
Right. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I guess it's best not to be wearing it unnecessarily.
Well, that's what the curve is where the curve is going now is you only need those items when you're in a IDLH atmosphere. So then that turns into the clean cab theories, which I'm not a big fan of. But the idea is to get it off of you and get all that away from you as fast as possible.
Exposure reduction.
Yeah.
I mean,
We're going to
You're
probably
not gonna get rid of it.
I believe my chief and some guys in the department are right now probably going to be getting saunas.
Yeah.
Not right away, but
Yeah.
I think the ball's rolling towards grant money and things. So
the other stories that follow up from a couple episodes back. Remember I was talking about Montgomery County, the firefighters that flooded the baseball field.
oh yeah.
I had heard a little bit about this.
Yeah, so I guess a foul ball entered their parking lot, struck one of their vehicles, so they decided as payback they're going to pull the engine out and flood the baseball field.
Whoops.
There was actually a competition going on, game, and I guess they actually sold tickets. They were sold out. They had to refund everybody the money because they couldn't play the game. But the update on it is they have been charged.
So it was all out of anger.
Yeah.
And the baseball field was next to the firehouse.
Yeah. So I guess it was from my understanding, it was an ongoing problem and a bit of contention with the fire department. They had asked that some type of like netting be put up to prevent the balls coming over and hitting their vehicles and stuff. And nothing was ever getting done. So I guess they just got frustrated. But the article says 2 Montgomery County firefighters are facing criminal charges after allegedly flooding a high school baseball field during dispute over foul balls hitting their station vehicles. Captain Christopher Rowley and firefighter Alan Barnes, both from Silver Spring Station 16, are charged in malicious destruction of property and disorderly conduct. Investigators say Rowley climbed atop a fire truck and used a pressurized hose to soak the field at Montgomery Blair High School in July, forcing the cancellation of the night's Cal Ripken League game. Rowley reportedly told police he was trying to get their attention after repeated incidents of baseballs damaging the station property. Both men have been removed from duty while the fire department conducts an internal investigation. Department officials say allegation actions do not reflect the values of professionalism of the Montgomery County Fire Rescue.
Okay, so I've been angry
20
before,
years.
and I understand it at work, but just in life in general, things anger you
Yeah.
as you're going through your life. And to take the effort to get in the fire truck, pull it out, either use the tank water or connect to a water source at some point, and then you have to put the truck in pump. Okay, you have to climb up on the truck. You have to adjust the nozzle on the deck gun. At some point, you got to come down from your anger and go,
Yeah.
what, as an adult,
What am I doing?
What am I doing here?
Wait a
Yeah.
minute. Wouldn't you be angry if your black Lincoln in my driveway kept getting hit with a baseball?
Or Sanchez.
Well, I'm not
Or
saying that.
Sanchez?
I'm not saying that, but to take the steps to use
Yeah.
the equipment. I mean, to me, I'm like, okay, listen, okay, I'll tell you exactly how I would do with it because it's not very difficult. I'm a man. If I voice my frustration and it didn't get settled, I would obviously approach the lead of that organization and say, hey, we're trying to be friendly here. We're trying to be neighborly here. Maybe things get handled there, but not when you're going to use a piece of fire apparatus. And it's not any different from a career or a volunteer
It's not.
department.
Nope.
You know what I mean? This is childish.
How is that criminal? Criminal charge.
There's
Well,
intent,
disorderly
there was
conduct, I guess,
intent
sort of
to
like
do
a
damage to the
Damaging
field,
property.
Yeah.
because I guess you'd have to understand that an adult would know that copious amounts of water on any surface is going to ruin it, right?
Yeah.
So that's the intent in the criminal charge, I would assume.
I mean, I don't know if
in
they
all
thought
my years of law enforcement.
Just bad stuff.
it's just like they didn't think about.
You can't
they
make
were
this
so
stuff up.
angry, or they
Can't-
just thought it was
can't
more of a
make it
joke, or
Can't make it up.
Well,
Yeah,
why
did
do
it start as a joke, and then they're like,
Yeah.
you know what? I
But-
don't want to hear them kids tonight, and soak the field so I can get some sleep.
right?
You know
Why
what I
not-
mean?
if you're worried about your
I wanna
cars,
take a
though,
nap.
Why don't maybe don't park them there when the game's going on? If you know
Maybe
that's
there's
potentially
nowhere
gonna
else to
happen.
park.
We,
I don't
we
know.
yeah, we have the same thing in our Renzi Firehouse.
Yeah.
You know, Helen Ritchie Field is right next door, and they've put up the netting and
Yeah.
raised the height of the fence. Sometimes a good hitter will get over there and put one over. You know what I mean? But hey,
Well, it's
never,
really
I've never heard guys want to beat anybody up in foot of the field. That's for sure.
the only news stories I had today, this week, but I just want to remind everybody the Fire Cam giveaway. We're at 360 subs on YouTube, going towards 500. We want to give that Fire Cam Mini away. And again, if we don't, in October, we don't get to 500, we're still going to give it away. Don't forget our X giveaway. We're at 200 followers, so we can give away the Fire Cam BJ1000 flashlight. We have Tom Cook, State Fire Commissioner, coming up next week. And don't forget, any departments out there have any events or raffles or any shout outs you'd like us to give, email us at thirdduefirstin@gmail.com, and we'll get those pushed out there. And if you saw a Facebook post today, we're going to do an episode on October 29th, a Stranger Calls episode. So share your strange call stories. If you have any stories, you can email us, and we'll even bring you on if you want to tell a story. So just shoot us an email, thirdduefirstin@gmail.com.
And moving forward too, I think we should probably let all the audience know, whoever the 4 people that are watching us right now.
Yeah, we got 18 watching.
There's
Right now.
there's eight.
The send in questions during the week. Most of you have the email, or everybody should have the email, but send in a question for Commissioner Cook. You know, if you have something specifically you want to say or you want to ask him, send it in. We'll ask him for you. 100% ask him for you. So
that's all I have. Gino, you got anything?
no, that was it. Just, you know,
DB, thanks again for coming on.
Appreciate it.
Wealth of
Appreciate it.
information.
Appreciate it.
Apparel. We're going to be having apparel soon.
Yep, we're in talks getting some apparel, so keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
And don't forget to send it. If you get any fire cam footage, send it in too, and we'll give you one of our shirts once we get them.
And the apparel might even say
try not to suck.
on it. Yeah.
All right. Well,
All right.
I guess we don't have to get Gino to say it. So we'll see you next week at 7 p.m. Everybody be safe out there.
Have a good week.